This is the Divorce Curious podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Mitchell. If you're here, your life and marriage might kind of suck right now, and I've been exactly where you are. At Divorce Curious, we're going to say the quiet parts out loud. We're going to sit in the anger, confusion, and disappointment that you're feeling and talk about what it looks like to go through the before, during, and after of being divorce curious. I'm glad you're here. There is no doubt that divorce changes things for women in so many ways. And for some women, it can mean doubling the workload, picking up what was usually or used to be done by a spouse or someone that they were living with. And for others, maybe they aren't losing so much support in that realm. If they were doing it all anyways, their life make it easier. But there is no doubt that it's going to come with financial stress. It's going to come with changing childcare needs if there's kids involved. It's going to come with a huge list of administrative and logistical tasks that most women are already feeling overwhelmed by the divorce process and now have to figure out this heavy burden. And these are the things that are keeping us up at night when we are going through the divorce curious process. So you don't have to do it alone. And I wish for my own story that I had a resource like the one you're going to be introduced to here in a minute to help me figure out what the heck do I do when all of these things, whether it's things I've done 100 times that now are just harder because of my circumstances, or if it's something I'm not familiar with at all, or didn't even really know that I needed to think about before going through this process. So I am super excited to introduce you to Vikki Duke. And she is the founder of Insomnia Mom. She's actually a founder of a couple of things and just an incredible human. But I am so excited for you to get to meet her and find out a little bit about how your life can get easier and maybe, take a couple of those things that are keeping you up at night off your plate so you can sleep a little bit better. So Vikki, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about how you ended up. You do a lot of things. You're a multifaceted entrepreneurial individual, much like myself. I appreciate your hustle there, but tell me a little bit about how you landed on the concept of Insomnia Mom and why it was something that you felt was important enough to really get a lot of your time and attention and effort.
My journey started for me personally when I started doing full-time real estate when my daughter was 3 years old, and I realized that we were adding things onto the plate, and I was not taking anything off. So that came up with the concept of kind of what was keeping me up at night. And with those tasks, I decided that some of that had to really be outsourced. And I just started making my own personal changes, my own professional changes. And over 5 or 7 years, that really turned into really great success for me and keeping things balanced. We talk about balancing busy. And then I went ahead and turned that into the company Insomnia Mom because I wanted to take the structure that I had created and I wanted to give that to other busy parents and professionals so they could reach the same kind of success and balance that I had achieved. It's still a work in progress, but I'm working through that now.
Thank you for recognizing the problem. And I think it's like the entrepreneur's journey, right? Is like necessity is the mother of invention, we'll say, right? It's when you finally get so sick of your own problems that you decide to start solving them. And then you get to realize other people are having a lot of the same problems that you are. So kudos to you for taking the initiative to not only solve your problem, but then to share what you've learned in the community that you've built with other people that are up at night with these same type of worries. So talk to me a little bit about what you are most commonly seeing. And, the focus of the show really is kind of those people that are either considering divorce or are in the process of kind of figuring out the what's next as they're going through divorce or setting up life afterwards. What are you seeing in the women that you're working with when they come to you? What is a snapshot in time of when someone finally is like, I've got to get some help?
For your audience in particular, we've had those clients in this situation and stage of life very often. And even for real estate, they were clients years before I started Insomnia Mom, and I kind of gave them the same recommendations. So the number one thing that I suggest for everyone, if they're going through big changes in life and or working full-time, is to get a cleaning lady, get a cleaning company. Definitely get a cleaning company, not all the time, but occasionally to kind of help offload that. But there's also a couple things that are really, really helpful. NeighborServe is a company we've partnered with that does home maintenance. They will find painters and handymen and roofing companies and things that you really need to kind of keep up with that home maintenance. We have babysitters from Sitting Made Simple. That's been really, really helpful. But the two big things that I think women in your audience probably haven't considered that is really, really important is Rhoda is our employment readiness consultant. So if
tell me about that.
Yeah.
What does an employment readiness consultant do? What does she offer that we might not have thought would be important?
So she is also super multifaceted. I think one of her, whether you are ready to go back to work, she kind of helps steer the ship of what are our skills? How are we going to word those skills? How are we going to present those? Resumes and getting job interviews has changed greatly in the last 10 years. Yeah, especially if it's been more than that.
It's a whole new ballgame now.
And let's say you're already gainfully employed and you need to just elevate or upgrade that, or you need to change your industry. She helps with navigating all of that. She's absolutely wonderful and definitely a super, super popular consultant. And the other one is Sarah Wilson, who is our college advisor. She helps with a couple of things. She obviously helps with getting ready for university, doing your applications and helping with your essays, but also she has a really unbelievable talent for scholarship search to find you money at the schools you want.
We all love money. We all love money for school. I have a daughter that started as a freshman this year in her college journey, and boy, you think you're prepared until the invoices start flying around.
That's right. That's right. And also because a lot of times for your audience here where your financial situation may be changing, these may become a crisis level concern. And both of them are really kind of at the ready to help at least explain and educate on what those options are so you can make some educated decisions going forward. It continues to be as a team with your future ex-spouse, with the family.
Yes.
You're kind of armed with that information that it's still a team effort and team decision, but now we're kind of educated because we might be siloing that experience for the kiddos or yourself going forward.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And that it really isn't something like in my case, I started the divorce curious process for me when my daughter was 3. So when you're writing these orders and you're figuring out co-parenting and you're figuring out who's responsible for what. I mean, when you're starting with young children and everything that's in front of you immediately with childcare and preschool and parenting time, it is really hard to realize how important it is to be looking at what is that conversation going to look like when that child is 16 or 17 or 18 and planning to go in to their next phase of education, if that's their path or whatever support they may need going out into their independent life. And yeah, without someone to be really a guide in that process to say, yes, we're looking at this right now, but what else do we need to look at going forward when everything seems overwhelming? And honestly, you just want the paperwork done and to be done. Making a concession, I don't think a lot of people have just really the mental space to even think about what is rushing through this process without professional guidance, like the resources that you offer at Insomnia Mom. What is that going to cost me? What type of conflict is going to come in these conversations as our child or children get older? I can tell you firsthand, it's like the negotiations are never done. And even if there's paperwork with certain things, eventually things expire and then you have to just be grown-ups and think. So I think having a good plan and a framework to avoid as many surprises on all sides of that equation is just brilliant and fantastic guidance. And I'm so glad that you have a resource there.
I think it's so advantageous to have an expert. And, you know, people do talk about what is the cost of having these services, but what's the cost of not having them?
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that because, you know, you mentioned the cleaning service and kind of these other support systems that you have. And you never feel more broke, at least in my experience, and when you're going through the divorce process or contemplating the divorce process, especially if you're setting up a separate household and paying for attorneys and now you have different childcare demands because you're back in the workforce, right? Like it just seems like money is flying out the door. So for me, if I had heard this back then, I would be like, yeah, sounds great, but there's no way I can afford this. Can you talk a little bit about how you have structured things or the resource structure that you have there that allows people to make this really accessible to them regardless of what their budget or financial situation is?
Absolutely. The great news is there's tons of things you can do, quote unquote, for free here in the beginning.
Love
and
that.
so when we talk
free is one of my favorite words.
That's right. And when we talk about outsourcing the overwhelm, when I do speaking engagements or talk to other people, is outsourcing starts at home.
Tell me about that.
So if we have kiddos, we have all the way from toddlers who can do some things all the way up through your teens or whoever else is living in the house. Let's outsource the overwhelm at home. These are not your chores. They're team chores.
What? Nobody told me that.
They are team chores. It's not a favor to mom to wash your underwear when you're 15 years old.
My daughter was great at laundry, right? Like that's, again, an independent marketable skill right there.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And also for them, it's great training for them when they go into their own households. And I would just say, meet your kids at the level of where they are. also start that. And it's not a favor. It is actually a team effort to kind of build a well-oiled machine that is our family household. So I would start the outsourcing there with what people are able to do. My daughter started unloading the plastic out of the dishwasher, plastic plates and cups at 3 and 4 years old. I didn't give her the knives, but
Thank you.
Little bit of
Thank
stuff,
you for that.
the little bit of stuff she had, she could help. And, it just is kind of that team effort for the family. And then it's a helpful dynamic, I think, within the family. And sometimes there can be a positive reward associated with that. At the end of the month, have a movie night or something special that you guys do together is just kind of a yay team. This is the new normal.
I love that.
Yeah. And that's not even divorce curious or divorce community. That's all community.
Yes.
Where if you live in a house with people, I would outsource that overwhelm. But there's also things you can do with your community or your close circles that are super helpful, that are totally at the ready now.
What are some actionable ways that we can kind of enlist the support of our community or those people that are around us that we can kind of trust to lighten our load?
Sir, I have 2 favorites. One is shop sharing. What I call it is the carpool more than kids mentality. So if you're going to Kroger, grab a couple things for me. And if I'm going to Sam's Club, I'll grab a couple things for you. We're kind of started a culture of siloed errands.
Yes.
Where everyone is going to
all doing the same damn things and no one is helping each other.
And especially in the days of Venmo now and PayPal, just send me the receipt and I'll pay you, you'll pay me. So shop sharing is super helpful.
I love that. And it's such an easy thing to do. Like it's I think it's like having the courage to have that conversation with somebody.
Yes.
Because that always feels like a little awkward. Like I'm like such a do-it-all myself type A, like control freak girl that I feel like asking for help is a weakness. I don't know if anybody else listening to this maybe can relate to just feeling like everything is your responsibility to do. But I love the idea that like one simple conversation would probably solve at least one of your problems.
And it's also asking for help is kind of a let's repackage it and sharing the load. All you're doing is really helping somebody. You're already going there and they're already going there and you're just kind of sharing that load as opposed to saying this is a weakness I have and I need assistance with it is just, hey, let's just help each other out.
Well, and I think one of the funny paradoxes of that, just kind of thinking my own situation, it's like I feel so honored when somebody asks me to help. I love it. I'm out running around anyways. Somebody's like, hey, can you pick up a rotisserie chicken for me at Costco because I can't get there? But yes, absolutely. Like I get a lot of fulfillment out of helping people and I don't think I'm different or special. But to get me to ask for help feels like I would be a tremendous burden on someone and they would like be put off by it.
And also it's, again, repackaging it as a request rather than a declarative. So, the power of the declarative is what do you need from Kroger? What do you need from Trader Joe's? I'm here. What do you need? Do you love the chicken salad from here?
Yes.
I'm going to pick you up some. Because it's always one of those things, too, where we say, how can I help? Or let me know if you need anything.
And then you feel the burden of having to figure out how to articulate a need.
It puts the burden on that person to kind of come up with that part and then also get over the fact that they're actually asking for help. So shop sharing is huge. The other thing I really love is supper sharing. If you're going to make chicken salad, double the batch and give it to your friend, give it to your neighbor. And when she makes a lasagna, have her make 2 and bring you one.
See, I love that. And that is a simple thing. I'll tell you, that's something that I practice. I have a girlfriend of mine and we have kids of similar ages. So they're kind of in and out of the house, but now it's more out than in. And we do that all the time. It's like, hey, I'm making this. I'm going to drop a container off for you. Or like, hey, do you want this? I'm making this. Because if I don't cook for myself, I'm going to eat junk. And I don't know how to cook just for myself. So for me, it's like I used to even have my daughter's boyfriend at the time. I would cook my meals and he would stop by after practice and pick up dinner. That kept me cooking. But I think just the practice of sharing, it helps you nourish yourself better when it comes to meals, which I need the motivation or I'm going to take, it's going to be girl dinner. It's going to be crackers and cheese and some grapes, right? And I think, again, it gives you that extra connection point with people too.
Yeah. And also for Costco, where you save money with bulk shopping, right? Because we're talking about budgets. So budgeting is going to be something that's going to kind of go into every facet. So if you go to Costco or Sam's Club and you buy in bulk, maybe you don't need 40 apples. So you also can split that.
Yes.
And then you can share on the cost and then you've saved that person an errand. And it's just kind of build our community. We really want to move out of that siloed household mentality.
Yeah. And that's not a huge lift. Like that's not something you have to be super strategic on or have to pay to be part of a community to get into that. That's like just having the conversation, putting the idea out there to the people that you already know. So that feels very approachable and again, super budget friendly because then you're actually using the things that you're making and putting effort into. And it's just that little extra connection point, which I feel like when you're in the process of transitioning or trying to figure some of these things out from overwhelm, it is very easily defaulted to become your own island. So I love just the intentionality of like, hey, how else can I connect with somebody and how else can I lift their burden while also lifting mine?
Also, just as a side note, part of this is also freeing up your time for future opportunities and occurrences. Because we're not just trying to manage the load of what we currently have, but we need to have bandwidth and space for future opportunities and occurrences so that we can act on those things, whatever that is. If that is a job change, a home change, the kids get in more activities, so we can't always be full. And managing what we have as an ongoing goal is not good enough. We also need to make sure we have a little bit of space for future things.
Well, and that's such a great point because I think one of the things that keeps me up at night and really during that period of time in my life kept me up at night was like my never ending to-do list and task list of like, okay, so literally I would block 15-minute increments in my brain and in my calendar to try to fit everything in. So I know you have some really great ideas of ways that you can take back some of your time. What are some of the services or some of the things that you and your clients have used? I know we were chatting about grocery delivery and things like Shipt. Like, so how can technology help get more of your time back?
Now, if we're going to talk about things that we kind of budget for,
yes,
I definitely want to start after the cleaning company is Shipt.
How do you use that? How does that help you sleep better at night?
Shipt and Walmart Plus are...
And you're not a paid spokesperson,
I'm
right?
not.
This is
I'm
just
making $0.
Consumer benefits.
That's
yeah.
right. I would pay them to be able to have, and I do. So Shipt is the grocery delivery service, as is Walmart Plus, and it's about $100 a year. But if you look on my account, if I had my presentation in front of you here, my slide would show that I have saved $8,000 using Shipt.
Break that down. Because that sounds incredible. If I can save $8,000 by using a service, I want to know about it.
So one is that you can use the savings that are there. At this point, Target and CVS are also store shelf pricing. They're exactly the same price.
No premium.
That's right. Now, you do pay for the service, but it's exactly the same pricing. So there is coupons and there's other things that you can use. Sometimes they have credits and savings for that. But for me, I would triple that based on what I've saved not buying anything I come across on my way to Target.
Those end caps, man. Everything looks good on the end cap at Target, doesn't it?
That's exactly right. So I would triple probably what I've actually saved. But more importantly for me personally is my time. I have saved at this point, at the point that I had captured this off of my account, I'd saved over 500 hours of shopping time, which is 12 or 13 full-time work weeks that I was not at the store.
That's crazy. Okay, so for you all listening to this, just think about that. So just take a rough average, like your hourly wage or your salary broken down by hour, and then think about each one of the hours that you spend doing things like grocery shopping. Not only are you paying for the groceries, but you're also losing that time that you could be converting into earning money.
Absolutely. And so it's also, what is your time worth? What is the quality of that time? And that's where also when we move into higher level things of outsourcing, sometimes people do need assistance at home occasionally, or they do need help with parties, or they do need house managing. And then we also offer those as well, help with birthday parties. Sometimes
birthday parties were the bane of my existence.
That's right. And if you can get an expert to come and say, I can plan this whole party in a few hours, instead of it taking 3 weeks, that also is saving time, again, for those future opportunities and occurrences, or even if it's just time for resting or doing what it is that you want to do, as opposed to always being bogged down with what you have to do.
Resting, is that a thing? Is that a thing we get to do?
That's a work in progress for all of us, for sure.
Yeah, resting for me is just more quiet space for me to think about the things I'm not doing.
Yeah. Another thing I really love for cost-saving time is subscribe and save.
What's that? Walk us through that.
So Amazon would be a great example. So subscribe and save, or Chewy.com, people do it for pet care. But I also do it for my toiletries. I do it for toiletries that are going to be expiring. Your NyQuil, your Pepto-Bismol, your Advil, sometimes just putting in a reminder that those things just arrive.
The stuff you don't think about till it's midnight and somebody's not feeling well and you realize you're out of everything you need.
That's exactly right. And, just do an annual reminder for that. Anything that has a filter, your fridge filter, your HVAC filter,
my filters. Yes.
My cat fountain water filter. All of those are the things that, if you're going to need to change it, it's going to be 11 p.m. on a Sunday and you're not going to have it. So
and I think those are the things. I don't know. Maybe it's just my brain because I am, I've been very candid about my ADHD struggle to function well with that. But those things right there, I need to change the water filter things. Those are the things that I will wake up at 3 a.m. and my brain will not give me rest until I either document it or get on the app and order it. So you're saying be proactive about it.
Be proactive.
Automate as much as you can.
So one, you'll remember because it's arrived, and two, you'll do it because our furnaces filters do need to be changed. We don't want to end up with a bigger, more expensive issue down the line. But I also do subscribe and save for things, speaking of maybe a little ADHD, for people who cannot remember certain items. So for me personally,
it's feeling familiar, Vikki.
My aluminum foil is subscribed and save.
Love it.
Because I'm not going to remember it.
Never.
And I don't know why. But I'm going to go 3 and 4 months without it if I don't subscribe and save. And I love aluminum foil when I have it. And it's just one of those things I'm not going to remember. People do that for their prescriptions. They do it for the over-the-counter things. They do it for their cosmetics. You don't want to be out of the stuff that you use daily if it can just arrive on your front porch for the same amount of money. Amazon, as an example, subscribe and save actually saves you money if you're going to
and
have a cadence
delivery and
of its
delivery fees and things like that.
So, and in terms of time boxing and time blocking, I would encourage everyone listening to time box 2 hours where you go through your life and you say, these are the things I can outsource and have delivered. These are the things I can subscribe and save. We're actually toying with the idea in 2025 of having a couple just action hours where we say, hey, and it's not that we're necessarily doing it together, but you just schedule and
the
say.
The intentionality of the accountability of putting it on your calendar.
We're going to put in the newsletter Monday morning. Go ahead and run through your things, run through your delivery, run through your subscribe and save. Let's kind of get those things together, because sometimes if you've put that on your calendar and you've got friends who are kind of doing that same thing, you're more likely to accomplish it.
I love that. And that's the super practical brass tacks daily things, I think, that just eat up so much unnecessary brain space and emotional space and make it feel like we're failing, right? Because how dumb do you feel when you go to get aluminum foil out and you're like, oh my God, I've been at the store 100 times. I can't believe I still don't have aluminum foil. So then there comes the blame and the self-judgment and all these other emotional cost of not having your task in hand. So when we zoom out a little bit and we look at some of the bigger things, I know a lot of people that are listening to this and that are going through kind of the divorce curious phase of life are also dealing with things, not only dealing with their child care, but they're also assisting maybe their aging parents or other family members. And again, my parents are thankfully, knock on wood, healthy and pretty self-sufficient, but there are times where I do get involved in something that they need assistance with, and it can be a little overwhelming. And we haven't even really gotten into kind of the long-term healthcare burdens that a lot of us right now are trying to navigate or plan for, or even dealing with daily. What would be your advice to people that are kind of in that sandwich space right now? And what can you offer from support or recommendations for those dealing on the other side of care?
I think that part of that is also, again, refocusing on your new normal. And part of what Insomnia Mom also does is really promote niche industry. These wonderful small businesses that we really all found each other, and then we want to kind of promote that to our clients. So highlighting a couple of those that are the most interesting. Jenny owns Clear Health Advocacy, which is a medical billing questions and advocacy company. She will go through and help negotiate your medical bills, and she'll also explain some of your medical coverage. Perhaps this is the first time you'll have your own medical coverage.
Oh, that's a nightmare.
And
every year, that's what keeps me up.
And what works with the copay, and how does the monthly, and even if she doesn't necessarily have some of those resources herself, she definitely directs them. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful opportunity and resource to say, hey, we want to negotiate this. And also for your parents, maybe navigating that. Another one that's really great is Jessie. She is amazing. She owns a Memory Compass, and she's a dementia navigation coach. So she has the wonderful, wonderful resource of kind of having families, spouses, parents, children plan for maybe some cognitive changes. And it's wonderful for her to have these coaching sessions where she really can help navigate through those situations, having some coping strategies for not only you, but that entire family, and also helps with some time management and other things for those. She's really an invaluable resource. And also Dr. Burkhart is our parenting and neurodiversity coach. And so she helps with kiddos. We have tons of resources for kids with ADHD and other neurodiverse issues, but she really helps with the parents to help them coach through. how it is that they deal with those daily things.
I think it's one of those things where if you're listening to this and you're like, well, that's not really my problem. I don't really need that. You might, right? And I think although some of these resources, we're naming particular providers here that are connected through Insomnia Mom, and a lot of these are kind of central Indiana local, but I bet if you were to start making a list of the service providers that you're looking for based on the things that are keeping you up at night, you would be able to find resources as well. I would recommend check Insomnia Mom first, because a lot of their services and resources and free programming is available kind of universally. It's not geographically specific. So check there first, but just start making a list of the things when you find yourself with that 3 a.m. wake up and you can't get back to sleep. Like, just make a note, grab your phone, put a note in your notes app, or put something on your calendar, or keep a notebook by your bed. And that A, lets your brain rest a little bit, and B, tells you what specifically am I worried about right now. And that lets you target what type of resource you're most likely to be looking at. And there are the resources for you. That's what I think, Vikki, was like most surprising to me talking to you and really looking at the network of providers and services and resources that you've collected, is like, there really is. Like, you can feel so alone and you can feel so overwhelmed. You can feel like you're the only person who's ever had this problem. And it feels really isolating. It can feel shameful. It can just kind of paralyze you. And not taking action usually just means whatever it is bothering you is going to grow and take up more brain space. So I want to commend you for the network and the marketplace and really the resource pool that you've been able to pull together. And I wish I had an Insomnia Mom when I was going through my divorce. And even now I'm looking and actually engaging with some of your resources at this stage in my life, even being as far down the road as I am from it. So I think it really is important to me, the message I have, and just learning more about your why and what you've created, is you don't have to do it all alone.
Other great thing about it is our membership is totally free.
See, that's awesome. Again, that free word. It's my favorite.
We love free. So all we need to do there is put in our email and create a password. And that also unlocks our member perks, which has deals and discounts and other surprise me's and other great opportunities. And then, of course, has all of our service providers. But there are products and other courses that are also available on the website as well.
One of the things you do that I really love is that you get people in the same physical space. I have done events. Events are a monumental task to pull together an experience that feels good for people, that feels welcoming and inviting, regardless of what situation you're in and what background you're from. And I think that's something that you've been able to do beautifully. Can you talk just quickly about why you do the live events and why you would encourage people to participate in live events in their area?
Definitely building a community is still some face-to-face interaction. So sometimes we have social events that are just for fun, and you get to meet all of our service providers and some of our other people in the member perks community, but also then there are special events. We'll have a midlife empowerment in January that will deal with marriage, menopause, and mental health. Let's have some face-to-face time where we really get together with our experts, have some panels, have some breakouts, and just spend that time. There is a lot of opportunity to feel relief and feel support and comfort just in a community where people understand the journey you're going through. And we all just look at each other and say, hey, let's go through this together and let's get through it together.
Yeah, I think that's so important, like the element of hope, because nothing eats hope quicker than overwhelm. And I know that the times in my life where I've really struggled and feeling like, oh my God, is this ever going to get better? Is it ever going to get better? Is usually because my to-do list is so overwhelming and the problems I need to solve for. I mean, everything from changing the water filter in the refrigerator to the burnout light bulbs to the figuring out what I'm going to do with my investments and how I'm going to get the help I need for my parents for their most recent problem. Like, those are the days that it feels like this will never get better. And I think what I love most and appreciate most about the community that you're building is like you are giving tactical, practical, problem-solving resources that beyond a shadow of a doubt can help somebody know that this is finite. I will not feel this overwhelmed forever. There are things I can do right now that cost me no money that can instantly start improving my mental health, my anxiety, my sleep, the way I'm showing up for my people. And I just think that that's really what I want to drive home with this episode is you really can have hope, and you really can, probably way more easily than you think, and for way less money than you think it would take. You can really find somebody to help you with everything you need help with. And a lot of them live at Insomnia Mom, which is awesome.
Yeah, we're very excited and a very exciting and jam-packed 2025 as well. So we would encourage everybody to come look at our current opportunities, our social events, become a member, sign up for our newsletter, and see all that we have in store for them, with them, by them here next year.
Love that. So get connected, because I know Insomnia Mom hopefully will be coming to an area near you soon. And until then, they are able to get you to the resources that you need and at least give you the tools that you need to start looking for your local resources if you're not somewhere in the central Indiana area where you can really take advantage of their direct providers. So I want to just open it up to you, Vikki. Is there anything else on your brain that's going to keep you up tonight if we don't share it in this episode?
I think we have vastly covered all of the great things. I would just encourage everybody to go and look at our community and the things that they need. Really appreciate the opportunity of connecting via resolution mediation.
Yes.
I know that they
one
were
of your
also
providers
on an episode. Yes, they are absolutely fantastic. And so I would just encourage anyone in your community, especially at that divorce curious stage, to reach out to them. They are really just a diamond mine of a resource for this community.
Yes, and you can actually learn more about resolution mediation because the episode with one of the mediators, Hillary Sharpnack, is live. You can go look at that. I believe it's episode 3. And then coming up is an episode with Tess Worrell, who is an attorney and mediator there. And that's going to be coming soon here to the Divorce Curious show. So keep an eye for those episodes to drop, or listen to Hillary's. It's already available. They are jam-packed with so much great actionable information in the mediation and divorce space. And that's how I know Vikki now, is because the community builds, right? It's not just something we talk about. It's something we actually live and enjoy the benefit of, is being connected to other great people through our network here. So Vikki, thank you so much for coming on
having me.
The show today. I am encouraged, and I am certain that because of this conversation, you are going to help so many people who are losing sleep at night because of their to-do list and the overwhelm. And you have just equipped them with an amazing set of resources and ideas of how to start taking actionable steps towards improving their situation. So thank you so much. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in to this episode of the Divorce Curious Show. And just know, like, you are not alone. And the things that you are experiencing, the things that are keeping you up at night, there are so many people that are right there with you. And that's why I'm here at the Divorce Curious Show, is to help you find more of what you need to help you sleep better at night. Hopefully there'll be less keeping you up. And if you want to know more, please continue to subscribe to the show, comment, leave me a rating. That's really, really helpful for getting this information in front of other people. So whatever platform you're listening to this on, if you can leave a rating and a comment, that's going to help get it in front of more overwhelmed women having sleepless nights on their divorce curious journey. You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Divorce Curious Help. That's where we get not only useful, but we also have some silly stuff and some hot topics and news items that I comment on. And you can always check out my Stan store in the link in the show notes to see all the ways that we can stay connected and work together. So until next time, stay curious.